Hello and welcome, welcome, welcome. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Good morning, I guess, as well. Or even good night. Welcome. Hello, hello. Got plenty of familiar faces in the house. We're going to be getting started with some tournament action here very shortly. Let's get that switched over. And today's tournament is the Land of the Living. So, I really hate undead, and I've decided... no, not really. Just not the biggest fan of the crumbling mechanic at the moment, and so I decided to throw a tournament where, at least in the initial rounds, they were going to be banned. Yeah, they were banned, in fact, so... as a result, we've got here Falcon versus Fistek for... Round 1 of the semifinals. In the next bracket, we're still awaiting Legatus Leonidas' opponent. And that could be either Ice Power Total War or Romulan Dog, who are currently contesting. So Falcon here has played the Skaven all the way through. There's a prize for Queek. The most wins with Queek, I should say. The person that gets the most wins with Queek gets $20, which is not too too much, but it's something. And yeah, let's see what else. Fistek playing Norska had to face Norska Mirror and then Greenskins, Slidex Greenskins as well, which is very strong. All right, we're now going to be on MP Harriot Ridge. Looks like Fistek's going to pick Pirates, Band, Dwarfs, and Empire. Falcon will go High Elves. And, yeah, let's see here. I think the game sound is a little quiet. I think that's okay, though. I'll fix it in a moment. Actually, probably shouldn't have... turn the music off completely. We'll go ahead and get that back going, just so there's some kind of background noise while we are going here. And let me do this, actually. Nope, that's not it. What am I looking for? Here we go. Nope, that's not it. Huh, okay. Interesting. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. Get the old Empire theme going. Looks like these guys are just about ready anyway. Yeah, High Elves are pretty good in this matchup, and it's a relatively open field map, but the way you can kind of see there's this kind of ridge here in the middle, right? And on either side, there's some flatter terrain with some forests that you can kind of use to position and move around in different ways, and kind of set up some different like ranged kill zones and ambushes and flanking maneuvers. Basically just try and utilize the fact that the Vampire Coast is very, very slow, and if you catch their fast moving units out then and get rid of them very quickly, then you basically have free reign, more or less. Granted, their ranged attack power is obviously super strong. We can play Vampire Pirates? Yeah, so the Undead factions were banned for the initial rounds only. That restriction was lifted for the semifinal. Probably should have not done that, but I decided, you know what, let's see if the forces of life, those who prevailed, in the scrum. This was kind of my idea, is that you have this grand battle between all the different, mortal, quote-unquote, living races, and they all fight it out, and the champions there go on to potentially fight some undead and try and prevail over them. Order time? Potentially. Potentially. Most people, because the deployment zones are like right here. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse very well. Right here, right? So because of that, like you can deploy up on top of the ridge, and it's pretty flat. Like there's pretty good shooting, but if you do that, then you're potentially putting yourself at risk, like I was saying, of if you have like direct line of fire cannons and you deploy exactly in the center here, there is a little bit of a dip there. So you can't necessarily direct fire down to the lower ground here. Maybe you could set up on top of the hill here with some mortars, but at the same time, if your opponent just goes straight in from the front here... Oh, that's a little loud now. Okay. Then... it's just some interesting tactical choices you've got to make there as the Vampire Coast. This is a map that would seem on paper to very much favor the Vampire Coast, but if you play your cards right, you can kind of work around terrain and avoid taking as much range damage. So we'll see. We'll see what Falcon can pull off here. Ivan, counts are the worst. I mean, and what I mean by that is they're very strong, and they're the worst because they have the most healing. Like, they're the most egregious undead. So if I were to ban any of them, I would actually ban vampire counts, and I'd probably only allow Tomb Kings, since they don't have lore of vampires. Makes them slightly less terrible than other undead. Yeah, Aristo, you just missed my explanation of why the restriction was lifted for the semifinal and final. Yes. I did. I am a dirty trickster. Looks like Falcon's just checking something. I'll go ahead and ready up on my end so they can get rolling as soon as they're ready. Krokgar. Oh, man. Krokgar is so strong. Like, his faction buffs, the fact that he just gets straight up minus upkeep, and, like, I don't know, he gets crazy buffs for his army, too. Like, he's super strong in campaign. I do dislike counts more than pirates. Yes, that's true. Yep. There's a sliding scale of how much healing you have, and because the vampire counts have the most, they're the worst. Right? Oh, you'll still probably get some Alariel here. Okay, get into the game now. Five armies. Oh man, that's rough. That's rough. Tomb Kings, I don't know. Tomb Kings, they do have a pretty clear weakness in that their lords are weak to fire damage. All of them except Kotep, and Kotep is just squishy anyway. That is something that you can... I guess not every faction can take advantage of that, which is a little bit of a problem in and of itself. I do think all factions should have access to some type of fire damage. And, like, even you could argue Coast only has the Necrofex, which is not really going to do super well fighting constructs. Oh no! Falcon get dropped? Let's see. Disconnect? Oh, you can see the armies now, but yeah, it looks like he disconnected. Well, we'll get back in here and just load up with the same builds. Yeah, Alariel can't restore models, though. True. That is true. Exactly. The double nobles is not so much of an issue because they've fixed somewhat the chariots. The high elf chariots, they got a little bit nerfed and they fixed their attacks. Their attack animations actually were going off way too much. Too much undead. Yeah, more fire damage to melee units. I agree. And you know what, Arja, you know what I would like to see as well is more factions given the Banner of Eternal Flame, because that's a pretty common item in campaign. Like, you pick that up in almost every campaign, right? And so, even for factions that don't have access to Lore of Fire, if you just give one of their heroes that banner, like the Orcs, for example, Bob would be a perfect, he's already a great support hero, but that would be a perfect, way to give the Greenskins fire damage, is to just give Bob the Banner of Eternal Flame, and that can apply to both ranged and melee units. Now, granted, you still don't get the synergy of Kindle Flame, but at least it gives you some type of fire damage that you can give on actually any unit, which arguably makes it kind of strong in some situations. But 25 to 50 damage per second. I agree, definitely. Up to 50 might be too much. 25 is an interesting number. I don't know. I'd have to investigate that a little bit. You want to buff Bob even more? Well, I mean, who else are you going to put it on, though? I guess you could put it on one of the lords, maybe like the Orc War Boss. That would actually give him a role, is to be the fire damage, but then that kind of sucks that ties you to a certain lord, which is basically a death sentence. In certain matchups. And Tomb Kings, I don't know, having a kind of squishy flying monster lord, I don't know, I kind of made him work okay against the Tomb Kings before, I guess, but he's just squishy for what he is. Interestingly enough, a lot of people don't realize this, but the not the chill guys specifically, but regular Hex Wraiths actually do fire damage. Which, I mean, you wouldn't want them against Tomb Kings, I don't think, anyway, because Tomb Kings have enough magic damage they can wreck X-Rays, and you don't really need the Terror, obviously. So, Black Coaches also do as well, but again, you're not really using a Black Coach to try and kill a single entity, right? And like Skaven, you have the Clan Rats, the regiment around Clan Rats that have fire damage. And you have Warp Fire Throwers, neither of which are good against constructs, right? Or big armored monsters. Yep, I agree 100% with that assessment, Aristo. Tomb Kings are definitely the most versatile. Coasts are definitely the strongest. And counts are the most obnoxious. Absolutely. That's a great way of putting it. 100%. 100%. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at these builds here. Check out what we've got for Falcon's High Elves. As we saw, some Rangers up in the front line. He's got some Sisters of Avalorn, 2 Horse Nobles with Alario. So at least I'm filling up to part of... English is hard sometimes. I am living up to part of the thumbnail here, fulfilling that. Lariel's here. Got a couple Reavers in the back also. Taking a look now at the Pirates. A couple Dogs. We've got some Carronades. And Queen Bess, interestingly enough. Deckhand Mobs. Handguns. We've got Gunnery White. Noctilus. Sirens, interesting. Very, very interesting. Queen Bess could be an issue here, although you can kind of dodge the shots as well, and Falcon certainly has the micro to do so. The Carronades, they're just kind of in an awkward position here in terms of firing angles. Like, you can see if we get down close here where the Carronades are at. Get rid of all the UI so we can get a nice, clean picture. They don't necessarily have an open line of sight. This small kind of ridge right here, they can probably shoot up and over, maybe not like directly over the top to maybe like right here on the low ground. But again, Falcon, if he just takes his time, works his way around here, kind of utilizing these woods, running from cover to cover, He's going to have to continue scouting with some of his fast attack units, and those will be at risk from getting eaten by either the ranged or the cavalry. And he's going to have to reposition his cannons to then be able to get shots like down here on this slope, right? Which would take quite a while because they're slow cannons manned by zombies. I don't know. Good question. Probably something to do with animations, if I had to guess. Although I guess they could just use the damsel animations. I don't know. Good question. Cryptors, I think, actually are kind of good because they have poison and their mass is decent. Regeneration also makes them quite a bit better than animated Hulks. Hulks are just bad, though, to be honest. Animated Hulks are just terrible. Here comes Queen Bess. Carronades are firing. Where's Queen Bess shooting? Probably... Ooh, that was a misfire for sure. I mean, he does have a gunnery white to feed more ammunition here. You don't want to be wasting those shots definitely on fire at will at the hero squad here. Falcon's just going straight in, though, not really trying to utilize the terrain at all. Just going directly to the fight here. And Alariel's going to have to be a little bit careful so she doesn't take massive amounts of damage. So far, she's doing fine. But, oh yeah, that's dangerous. A pistol mob summon. They can blast her, do quite a bit of damage, and he is starting to take some damage from Queen Bess on those Sisters of Avalorn. Not too much right now, but yeah, it has done some damage, definitely. Killed, what, 4 models there? And it looks like this Ranger took a shot here also. Killed about 13 models there. Alariel, though, just getting absolutely lit up by all these guns. That is very dangerous. You might need to pop the Star of Avalorn, actually. She's also in the woods, which is kind of debuffing her speed somewhat. Yeah, the Rangers do get into contact here with the pirate mob. This is very dangerous, though. It looks like we've got the bombardment. Oh, man. Oh, this might finish her off. Oh, she's gone. That is massive. Alariel just gets straight up sniped there by Noctilus and all the guns. That is absolutely huge because obviously there's no healing now. For the High Elves, they still definitely have a chance, though. I mean, these Sisters of Avalorn are going to be able to come in here and just unleash a huge amount of armor-piercing damage. And, I mean, the Rangers will take some damage as well, but it's not going to be too bad, I don't think. Depending on where they're actually focusing the fire, which definitely should be on these Sisters of Avalorn. But the Nobles are also pushing through, getting at that gunnery white there. And yeah, Falcon now turning to shoot Queen Bess. Probably should have done this a little bit earlier to try and silence Queen Bess. You can shoot it down relatively easily, especially with this many Sisters of Avalorn. But so far, only 35 kills and quite a bit of HP damage done as well. But there, Queen Bess, the unit model goes down. That is going to be a nice way to try and get back in this. Noctilus is still a problem, but as a lot of these Sisters of Avalorn are still online, I think that they still definitely can take him out there. A little bit of lag here. Hopefully it doesn't persist too bad. These Sirens getting into the fight is a little bit of an issue. The Sisters of Avalorn might have to turn and focus fire there. They can take out those Sirens in a big hurry, obviously, because they have magic damage. Right now, though, definitely focusing on Noctilus while he's in range is a good plan. Sisters are going to have to kite now as the zombies are kind of pushing them away a little bit, but this Reaver managed to get back, shut down one of those Carronates, start the unit crumbling. Unfortunately, the other Reaver is getting chased off by Hounds. Good play by Fistek there. And Noctilus is barely going to survive this. Looks like the Sisters and so on will have to pull back. This one still might be able to get in range, kind of get a good flank up and around here, but these other ones definitely pulling back from the zombies. They can actually fight the zombies okay, but they do want to turn and fire at those Sirens, definitely, while they're in range. Oh, here we go. This unit of Sisters now going to come shut down the Carronates, perhaps. Looks like they're actually pulling back there. Oh, or routing, perhaps. The Nobles are doing okay. They do have to be kind of careful, though, because they have no healing. So operating together, definitely a good idea. They haven't quite finished off that Gunnery White, which is kind of a problem. He's going to be able to continue plinking shots at them, which will do quite a bit of damage. But this is a good kind of play here. He pushes up and around to push Noctilus over towards his other archers, potentially. And obviously, Noctilus does not want to fight those two Nobles, so he's going to have to pull through there. Now, the Sirens are pushing pretty hard. Unfortunately, these sisters are getting bogged down by zombies here as well. I don't know. I think Falcon can come back into this one. I think losing Ilaria like that was a little bit too much. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the two nobles are still fighting. Their leadership's holding up for the time being, and these sisters are continuing to kite and shoot as much as they can. The Sirens are just not crumbling in terms of their leadership because they're very confident in terms of the balance of power. Here, I mean, they finally get set into crumbling, but as we know, crumbling really doesn't do a whole lot of damage. So yes, this is why I banned Undead for the entire tournament. And next Land of the Living I'm doing is absolutely Undead are just going to be banned the entire time because nobody wants this. I mean, granted, I think Falcon had the right build to win here. The healing obviously would have been pretty massive for Alariel being able to heal some of those sisters especially. But that was rough, man. That was rough. GG indeed, yeah, rough one there. Alariel just getting picked off at the beginning. Just playing a little bit more conservatively, like To the Woods, obviously, is what he should have done, but I'm sure he knows that. Falcon probably very aware of that. And from Fistek here, Queen Bess, I don't know if I love this here. I mean, it's kind of a good idea in some ways, because you can pressure the High Elves at range very heavily, but it is super vulnerable to High Elf archers, and Fistek definitely wasn't playing far enough forward, as we saw there. Granted, Falcon took a little bit of time to prioritize Queen Bess, but you probably want to try and play a little bit further forward, especially since he doesn't have a ton of mobility here. But yeah, it's just kind of a lot on artillery spend. Noctilus as well, it counts as an artillery piece, which is just kind of a weird situation, but... Ooh, Falcon's now going Lizardmen, Fistek will go Dwarfs, and for the map, let's go on to... Let's do... Let's do the Central Chaos Waste. I like that map. There it is. Huh. Tabletop Army of the Dead tries to animate to challenge me. Well, I do want to learn Tabletop. I think I'm going to reinstall Tabletop Simulator and try and convince someone to teach me Age of Sigmar, because I'm trying to get into that. Really. Crumbling in old fantasy was never an issue. Yeah, in the tabletop games I've watched on YouTube, they did... It seemed like it worked almost like it was worse than leadership in some ways, or maybe it just worked exactly the same. I can't remember. I think, like, for however much you rolled under your leadership, plus, like, the number of models lost, and I don't remember exactly how it works. Maybe some of you guys can say in the chat. Yeah, it's super strong. The crumbling mechanic is super, super strong. Always has been. You rolled leadership on a 2d6. Right. Okay. But I thought with crumbling you would add, like, something about the number of wounds you've taken. A value higher, that's right. Or not add, sorry, you would subtract one for every unit model lost or something? I don't remember. I don't remember how it works. Oh yeah, that's right. Flanking, ranks, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, if they reworked the crumbling mechanic, that would go a long way, because then the low leadership of the undead units would actually matter, and then you could actually give the Tomb King's units a little bit higher leadership just in general, like their skeletons and stuff. So that kind of represents that. And then also the Tomb Kings helps make it up again for the fact that they don't have or vampires per se. I don't know, Aristo. We'll see. Perhaps. Depends on if they change it or not before then. I'm really hoping they'll just change it so I don't have to make an angry video about it, but probably maybe making an angry video about it will force them to change it, so really should just do it. Okay. Fistek just checking his army picks. Yeah, okay. Okay. They just got wounds. Yeah, I think so. I think that's how it worked for undead, I want to say. It's been a while. I'm pretty excited, though, maybe I won't actually base... I have some models. Maybe I won't actually base them up for Age of Sigmar, because if they're going to be releasing the new... the revival of the old world? Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. No, vampires did not crumble, which is basically represented in-game by them having high enough leadership that, I mean, it's hard to make them crumble and basically impossible to make them disintegrate. Oh no, they could crumble. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, so it is just like Total War Warhammer then? In that way, at least. Interesting. Yeah, vampires have good leadership, but usually they're winning combat. That's not so much true in Total War Warhammer necessarily, because vampires, I mean, they're pretty good in combat, but they're not as good as dedicated combat lords, usually. Hey, what's up, Ice Power? Let's see, check in. Looks like you and Legatus are waiting. Oh, okay. Looks like I need to rehost the lobby. Okay. No problem. Whoops, nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's just switch this over here real quick. And I guess I could have done a bracket for today, but I totally forgot to. Okay. We're back in business. Getting this all sorted out here. Okay. And we're back. I guess I could actually get the scoreboard up. Let me get that taken care of here while we're waiting on these guys. There we go. Okay. Get that up, and we're actually going to downsize it. Oops, not that. Downsize it just a little bit there. Oh, there we go. Okay. Looks like these guys are getting started anyway. So I'll get the rest of this set up as they load up and get deployed. What am I doing? Okay. Alright, so we got Fistek and Falcon. And here we are with the scores also. Good time. Definitely going to be a good time. I see some Croc scores already. That's great. Fantastic. And he gets a 1. Okay. Perfect. Now we at least got a scoreboard up, and it looks like it's not actually centered. That's gonna bother me. Fix it in a second. Oh, nope. I don't know if I can wait. I move all of these at the same time? That is the question. I don't think so. I'll fix it in just a second. Anyway, let's have a look at these builds here. Quickly get through things. Ripperdactyls, Pterodon Riders. Got Cohort of Sotek here. Red Cress. Proxygores. So quite a bit of armor-piercing damage. And who is the Lord? A Proxygore Ancient. Okay. And here we got 2 Gyros, 1 Brimstone, 1 Steam. Same thing here. Probably. No, 2 Brimstones. Interesting. Blasting charges, 2 there. Yet to be deployed. 1 group of Slayers, the Dragonbacks. We've got a cannon as well. Gotreks here. Grombrindle also. So 2 pretty strong combatant lords. Longbeards also. Dwarf Warriors. Longbeards are actually really good in this matchup. They trade very well with Saurus. Very cost effective for them. Looks like they're off. Croxy boys, yep. So the dwarves kind of deploying out in the flat area here. They are going to move up somewhat. Cannons right now are not actually shooting. I don't think anything's quite in range yet. Nope, not quite. So Brimstones are now coming over. Falcon does have the Rippers here. That, granted, they don't have anti-large, but they still do a lot of armor-piercing damage. Can absolutely melt those gyros in a big hurry. Likewise, the Pterodons providing counter-skirmish here. means that, I mean, the gyros, because of their superior numbers, are going to be able to get some shots in. The cannon supporting as well could potentially hit friendly, but dwarf cannons are probably accurate enough that that's not likely to happen. So far, those pterodons didn't lose any unit models, which is really nice. But these brimstone guns, starting to kind of work on them. A pretty good target for them just to kind of get rid of them tactically. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, just checking something here. Thanks, Eli. Appreciate it. Yeah, I was gonna say, I was actually just about to put something in the chat. Like, he is too close. Technically, this counts as the white line. Falcon's just charging him anyway, though. Not really too worried about it. If he moves to block, then I'll give him a warning. Right now, it's fine, though. He doesn't really have any ranged units to screen that out, either. And Falcon's taken relatively little damage on his important units. You can see, actually, taking the damage on the pterodons has just allowed him to tank it out for the most part, and the Kroxigors are getting into the line basically unopposed at this point. He does have to be a little bit careful with his lord, but he's loaded him up on the side here with the cohort of Sotek and the caster to try and push up and through this side. And look at that beautiful micro, those skinks just sneaking through a gap in the lines, pushing immediately up behind. Grombrindle uses his smoke bomb to try and slow them down, but that means now he can't debuff any of the Kroxigors, and it looks like the Ripperdactyls are just rushing down, getting on the cannons anyway. Slayer's a little late to respond. They will respond now, though. And the problem here is these dwarf units are just kind of getting overloaded at this point. And they really don't have anything to stop these Kroxigors. The Kroxigors, Gotrek and Grombrindle can kill them if given enough time, but I don't think they're going to be given enough time here. Let's get in close. Looks like we've got a Manticore summon going active. It's a great way to get some mobile on-demand terror, which looks like Falcon didn't actually have any terror in this army other than that, which you wouldn't think it's important against the dwarfs, but you can terror out them, and when you do, it's definitely very strong. So Rippers, they tear apart the the choppers. They have enough attack and armor piercing damage that even though the choppers count as large, choppers also only have 6 melee defense, so it's not hard to make contact with them. Like, even pterodons actually trade okay in melee against gyrocopters just because they have decent stats. Gyrocopters do have 30 attack, but at this point, Falcon's in a pretty good position here. I mean, yes, there are these heroes still, but you can see already Gotrek starting to take some damage, and the rest of the Dwarfen units are just going to get completely rolled here without doing too much. Gyros definitely don't have enough ammo to kill all these Kroxigors, and I mean, I guess the Dragonback Slayers could contribute, but I don't know. I think they just got melted. I'm not sure exactly where they're at. Maybe a handful remaining somewhere. Oh, here they are. It's still 29 of them. Okay, that's something, definitely. But the Skink Chief, unfortunately, or Priest, rather, got routed. He did already burn a Manticore summon, so he'll come back, and that's totally fine. Here you can see, yeah, Grombrindle plus... Or, sorry, the Kroxigor Ancient plus the Manticore here going after Grombrindle, and together they're able to do a ton of damage. He does get a Smoke Bomb there. Looks like it did not actually catch those Kroxigors, so their melee defense is not debuffed, and the Kroxigor Ancient does need to be careful. Looks like Gotrek might be angling for a rear charge here into him. These other Kroxigors just mopping up this flank at the moment. Those dwarfs are holding for the time being. Definitely resolute Dowie still, but they're eventually going to get ground through. And look at Grombrindle just getting absolutely circle-beaten by Kroxigors. Just an absolute paddling. Oh, did he just go down? Did they just paddle him to death? Oh no, he's still alive. That was painful for him, though. He's routed at this point. Grombrindle apparently does have Aether, and it's something to do with giant lizardmen with paddles. Oh, man. And yeah, with that, you can see the balance of power immediately takes a pretty big turn towards the lizardmen's favor, and that will be a victory for them. Look at these big old Croxy boys. Such good puppies. Giant, adorable lizard puppies with paddles and hammers. clubs. Definitely the paddles is the best, though. Like the mini Nakai lollipop. And that will even up the series at 1-1. Once the dwarves realize their cause is futile, which, you know, they're dwarves, it'll take them a while to realize that. Eventually, though, especially as Gotrek starts to take damage, that will do a lot on the balance of power. And again, utilizing the Manticore plus the Kroxgor Ancient here, the Master Paddler. Well, maybe not Master Paddler, but Expert Paddler at least. Yeah, see, that's why I thought about giving him a warning for line camping, but I figured with Falcon's build and the way he was doing his targeting priority, I just didn't see how Fistek could necessarily even win that, but give it a good attempt. So now for the rules for Game 3, the loser now picks and single bans. So that is Fistek. Yes, if the terrain counts as, or if it's touching the white line, then it counts as the white line, right? But let's go ahead and get to another map. For this last one of this series, let's go to let's do Plane of Spiders. Nakai to the Kroxgor Ancient, you are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of Master Paddler. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, yeah. Well, he has anti-infantry, and his abilities are just better, I think. He's cheaper, too. If Nakai was cheaper, he'd actually be kind of good, but... No, Mole Spaghetti. I refuse. This action does not have my consent. Yeah, I like when generic lords are viable. Like, they're usually not ever going to be the meta pick, except maybe in certain niche situations, but I like them to at least be viable, definitely. And, I mean, for the Lizardmen, I would say even Slann, there are some generics, like the Slann, the Glady, obviously, that are meta in a lot of matchups, but for most factions, it's not the case. No. No, Aristo. Oh yeah, they're just construction workers. Oh, looks like he went Dark Elves. And let's see. Thinking of a ban. Give Nakai bonus versus large. Honestly, I'd be fine with that, to be honest. I said honest twice there, but whatever. Moving on, yes, absolutely. I think he should have a bonus versus large. I think they just didn't want him to have too much crossover with Kroq-Gar, but honestly, Kroq-Gar's kind of different because he can take like different monsters, or he can take cavalry, or he can be an infantry. He's not like a monstrous infantry lord, right? So I'd be fine with that. Supreme Sorceress, yeah, Supreme Sorceress is pretty good. The Gaba War Boss is pretty decent as well, and the Beastmaster both, because they have Tormentor Sword. They're not the greatest in combat, but they're relatively cheap also. Alright, he picks Dark Elves and bans Wood Elves. Falcon now coming in with the Skaven. So we'll see. Skaven pretty strong in this matchup. I don't know. I'd have to play around with this matchup a little bit and see. I think it's relatively even. There we go. Yeah, same with Beastmaster, exactly. Yep. Trying to think, other factions like Chaos, the Sorcerers can be good in certain builds. Actually, you see the Shadow Sorcerer on a Manticore pretty often. Like, that's a meta pick in certain matchups. Or even a Fire Sorcerer on a Manticore if you want, like, a discount Flying Archaon. The Lore of Shadows one is really good, though, just because you don't have, a Legendary Lord with Lore of Shadows. Yeah, Goblin Shaman on the Spider Shrine. Yeah, and now, I mean, even before he was fun niche pick with his Wolf, but now he's definitely super, super strong with that big boy. Yeah. The Scarvet is another one, too, because I actually think he's better. He has better abilities than Kroq-Gar, so even though Kroq-Gar is a better combatant, you'll still see the Old Blood a lot more often. Warhammer 1 soundtrack, because it makes me nostalgic, Aristo. Back in the day, when the Empire was the focus, I guess, in many ways. Not really the focus per se, but kind of like the Lizardmen are the focus in this game. I guess Empire was the focus in the last game. Yeah, exactly. How often do you forego Starve Averlorn? Or like Morgr, how often do you forego the spawn summons, right? Like Norska, just no. Unless you want some specific fire synergy, because he does have an item that gives him fire damage. I don't know, it might still be bugged though. Yeah, the Tomb Kings were never casters. They honestly, I think the Tomb King should just be cheaper overall, and that would make him better. Malekith on the Cold One's also very good. True. Also true. I like him on the Lizard Limo too, actually. I think it's pretty decent. Kind of underrated, to be honest. I like Teclis on the horse still a lot. The Parrot, I don't really use that much. It's strong, certainly. I just don't use it very much. And Tyrion's actually still pretty good, too, in some situations. I see him used to pretty good effect on a regular basis. Yeah, it's interesting. For the Empire, like, the Arch-Lector, the General of the Empire, you would never really take unless you're trying to take him, right? Like, he's not really viable. I guess he's viable-ish, but the Arch-Lector's actually pretty good because he's a super cheap, very strong support lord. Like, he's not strong in combatant sense, but he is, has strong support abilities, and he's not nearly as expensive as Volkmar when you kit him out. Granted, Volkmar, when you kit him out, is probably one of the best lords in the game, so there's that. Karl Franz is also super good, and I think Yeah, just so often you're taking those two, or even Boris, that the General of the Empire, the Huntsman General, and the Archlector don't see a ton of use, but I am actually a fan of the Archlector. Tyrion kills, exactly. Yeah, unfortunately the oil flask ability is still really buggy. Like, it will still often fail to go off, and you know, other things. What's he saying? Just spam guns, hell cannons in a net, maybe. Maybe. Oh, I did forget to add a point to Falcon. Thank you for reminding me, Alex. The series is even 1-1. This will be the deciding match. Yeah, Archlector is super good with like Royal Altdorfs, especially, but just any Demigryph Knights in general. You know what? Funny you ask that, Tanks. I have a video on that exact subject coming out, I believe, tomorrow. Let me double check here. Let's see. Okay, and yes, it is coming out tomorrow, confirmed, so I will direct you to that video. I know you're gonna have to wait to hear my opinion, but ooh, that's the real question, Aristo. Probably not. Actually, probably. I'll probably do it this week. I was gonna do it as part of my health and leadership video, but I think it's a good enough topic on its own that I just want to spin it off into a separate video. Okay. Let's see what we can do here. Looking at these builds, we'll start with the Skaven Ziz. And it looks like got a Hell Pit Abomination, Furnace, couple Mortars, couple Rat Ogres, Queek, and an Assassin. It's a very strong combination. Queek's pretty underrated in my opinion. I mean, Snitch is probably objectively better in most situations, but Queek does offer some upside. And as for the rest, I'd imagine probably just a bunch of chaff. Yep, just a bunch of meat shields. For the Dark Elves, we got the Raven's Heralds. Very interesting pick. You really don't see these guys much at all, because they're not very good. But they're here, certainly. They can try and do some damage from the sky. There's not a lot of counter sky tools here. Like, there's the mortars can try and fire up into the air, but it's going to be pretty janky, to be honest. And so this might actually end up not being that terrible of a pick. I'm not sure. I think if they fly around the Plague Furnace while it's in melee, I want to say they'll take the damage. I don't know. We'll look at that in just a second. A couple Cold One Knights, Dark Riders, lots of Dark Elf Militia. And for the hero squad, we've got High Beastmaster on the Chariot. Pretty decent pick in this matchup. Got Tormentor Sword and Stand Your Ground. Reaper Bolt Throwers also, 2 of them. I don't know. I think if my channel suddenly started posting about undead buffs, I think people would probably suspect something. Maybe. Maybe. Perhaps. And they're off. Looks like the bolt throwers for now just firing into the chaff. I mean, it's something, certainly. Probably a complete waste of ammo, but hey, it's something. The Hell Pit's now rolling forward. He does need to be a little bit careful not to get too far forward, but the Raven's Heralds, now that they kind of see that there's no counter to them, they're immediately going to fly out here, and probably, I would imagine, let's see what they start shooting at. In my opinion, I would start shooting at the Poison Wind Mortars first, because they have such low HP. I think the Raven's Heralds could probably finish them off pretty quick. Instead, they're going after the Plague Priest, which is a good idea. The Plague Priest, though, can kind of dodge around a little bit. It is taking quite a bit of damage, almost half its HP and damage already, but what was that? Oh, the mortars coming in there just doing a ton of damage, and it does look like the mortars actually are able to hit the Raven's Heralds at least once up in the air. Does a ton of HP damage, and we'll finish off a couple of unit models. One issue, because the Dark Elf Cavalry swept out and around the flank here, is getting pretty aggressive, trying to go after these weapons teams. Doesn't allow anything to stop the Rat Ogres and the Hell Pit from just rolling through this center and immediately shutting down these bolt throwers, right? Oof, nasty. That was a good punch sound effect right there. I don't know if I've heard that sound effect before. That was meaty. The sound design on Total War Warhammer, and just Total War games in general, never ceases to blow me away. I'll talk more about why later, but anyway, the Grinders here helping to protect the backline. You can see these mortars. Falcon does a really good job of keeping them protected. So even though they have seemingly been compromised, Falcon's able to still kind of reposition them, get them to safety, start shooting again. These mortars, though, take a rear charge from the Beastmaster. That's not great. Also, the Rat Ogres are starting to run out of steam a little bit here in the front line, and the Murderous Prowess kicks off right at the right time to help these Spears and the Cold One Knights here finish off the Rat Ogres, and it looks like the Plague Priest is also pretty much down as well. So it's going to be up to Queek and the Assassin here to try and roll through a lot of these units. They do still have the Hell Pit online as well, and also these Raven's Heralds going to run out of ammunition pretty quickly. The Beastmaster gets caught by the Warp Grinders here. That's also going to do quite a bit of damage to those, the Seismic Snare at least will do quite a bit of damage to those Dark Riders. So definitely always want to use those at the same time. These mortars, though, look like they're about to be charged by the Cold One Knights. Falcon sees that. He's going to go ahead and pull into position, protect with the Clan Rat Spears, and they'll be able to somewhat block that charge. Mortars continuing to fire will be super, super important here. Queek, though, is just not feeling great in terms of his leadership. His leadership is somewhat low, to be honest, and the Rival Hide Talisman, there we go. Queek gets good explosion there, Stand Your Ground popped as well, but this Hell Pit Abomination is just getting absolutely wrecked now. Hopefully we'll get the Too Horrible to Die proc. Let's see. We'll keep it close to see if it turns into a unit of Skaven Slaves, or it does get the healing proc. That's pretty good. I don't think the Dark Elves are going to be able to chase it off. Perhaps. I mean, there are these Dark Riders here, but it looks like they're going to keep going after the Mortars instead. These Mortars are barely still hanging on. Hopefully the Clan Rat Spears looks like they're actually going to route there as well, probably to the Cold One Knights. So things are looking a little bit rough for Falcon here. Not in the best position, and the Dark Elves were able to kind of sustain that assault pretty well. This other unit of Cold One Knights pulling back up and around to help was huge, and the Hellbrunei also. Raven's Heralds actually ended up being a really strong pick here, and even though I said they're a bad unit, this is maybe one of the best games I've seen from them, because Falcon didn't have any direct counters. That being said, I mean, the balance of power is still in an area where Falcon can get back in this game. These units have managed to hold their ground, at least the Poison Winds, and we've got some other chaff just kind of bogging these units up. Another kind of Snare and Warp Quake, or just the Warp Quake. Looks like the Snare still on cooldown. Likewise, the High Beastmaster also taking a lot of damage here, which will lead to the Dark Elves having leadership issues, but I don't know. Weaken the Assassin here. We're going to disengage from that Infantry Blob and go directly after the Cold One Knights. They get punted back into the Infantry Blob. Mortars, though, routing. That is bad. This mortar comes back online. They're going to get charged by this Beastmaster here, probably before they get any shots off. They do get a small volley off, at least. I don't know if that'll actually rout them. Looks like it did not, and they do make contact on that sword, which will probably finish them off. Both these players kind of reassessing, re-engaging. Queek and the Assassin here are having some problems, though. Those Cold One Knights actually did a lot of damage to them, and if they give up their leadership, if Queek routs here, that's going to be it. He does pop Stand Your Ground to try and recover his leadership. He is able to do so somewhat. Him and the Assassin now popping over to finish off that Bolt Thrower. He's probably shooting him in the back right now. And a very good job by Fistek here with the Beastmaster chasing off those mortars. So it was an interesting one. Yeah, the counterplay to the Rat Ogres, I guess, I didn't necessarily see that. The Hellbrunei, obviously, you kind of just discount them because they're just a low-tier spear, right? But I really don't see... Falcon doesn't have any mortars left. His leadership crew is getting lower and lower on HP. And not that there's really a lot of units that are direct counter to them, but this is actually kind of good fighting up against this artillery piece here, because then they can't be flanked as much. Queek and the Assassin, granted, looks like they're having a hard time with their attacks as well, but Queek's going to jump around and expose his flank there. Those Cold One Knights, too, the fact that their leadership is so strong, they both basically fought to the death, right? And using the Sorceress to chase off the Abomination, it looks like she might have actually finished it off here, because there is a unit of Skaven Slave Spears that spawned. So great job by Fistek here to try and sustain the assault and make sure he chases units off. Always super, super important, especially against the Skaven. We'll see, though. Queek and the Assassin are going to be pretty tough to kill. There's just so many units left, and especially the Hellbrunei having poison. Once they get in there and the Beastmaster starts cycle charging, I don't think the Skaven... They might just hit army losses anyway before then. Yeah, I think it's a GG. Orders confirmed by anti-air. They did get one hit, they just weren't able to get consistent enough hits. It's a unit you hardly ever see. Interesting use of them. I like it. Definitely like it. Queek and the Assassin still fighting, though. Still fighting tooth and nail here, literally, to try and finish off these Reaper Bolt Throwers. Ooh, one more Fireball, though, on Queek. Well, it does do a lot of damage to him, and that probably triggers army losses if he does rout there. It looks like he's... Yep, and that's it. Oh, Queek did get 141 kills there. I mean, you say Queek is not even not even good. Not even the best choice versus Dwarfs. That was an interesting one. GG. So let's go ahead and get the next competitors in here. Let me get them the info. So we got Legatus, Leonidas versus Ice Power. Let me message both you guys. Okay, let's just do some admin stuff right here. I'm going to go ahead and mute the mic for just a moment, put on some music, and I'll be right back. Alright, and we're back. Sorry about that. Needed to get some things sorted, as you saw on screen. And here we are. So, we're going to go ahead and do this. Reset the scores. Alright. And let's go ahead and get these other two in here. And there we go. Probably should have done that before, but, you know, we're still getting there. You guys are not quite ready yet, and we do have an Empire mirror, which means tons and tons of gunpowder units. I am an absolute huge fan. Obviously, I might be a little biased, but I think this is probably the best mirror in the game. And now we're loading in. Cool, cool. Go ahead and fade the music out. Here comes the feathery caps. Oh yeah, I'm expecting some floppy hats. I'm expecting some pew pew, some bang bang, some boom boom. All of that. Nice. Right on, Mole Spaghetti. DJ Mole Spaghetti, I should say. Turntables. Maybe we get a steam tank. The steam tank can be good in the mirror here, but it is a bit risky. So let's take a look at... We've got Marcus Wolfheart on one side, Amethyst Wizard and a Bright Wizard. 2 cannons and a rocket launcher. Awesome. Love to see the rocket launcher. Spearmen, swordsmen, looks like the Death Jacks. It's interesting. Silver bullets and handgunners. Empire Knights. I don't know about the Death Jacks. As for the other Empire army, let's see. Who's the leader here? Probably also Marcus? No, General of the Empire on foot. Very interesting, with nothing. So he is as cheap as possible. Bright Wizard, a Light Wizard. Also, just a bunch of spearmen with shields. He did bring some Empire Knights with varying levels of chevrons. 3 cannons, again. And yeah, handgunners. Just straight up handgunners. Not bothering with any of the ranged regiments of renown. Alright. Cat's distracting me. It's all good. Yeah, Marcus is pretty good here. I like the pick of Marcus. I also like the pick of the General of the Empire on foot with nothing. Both of them are decent. Marcus is forward slightly here. And Marcus's outfit just makes me want Kislev. Look at that. Look at that hat. That would fit in perfect in the north. Oop, oop. Clipping through. Yes. Oh, you trying to track the army? It's right there. It's right over there. Looking at the tracks on the ground. Like, where could they possibly be? Who knows? Right, Napoleon, pretty much, yeah. Mirrors are allowed, yes. I will sometimes veto them if it's egregious, like Undead versus Undead. This is a mirror that's actually kind of interesting. And we've got the 3 cannons versus the 2 cannons and the rocket launcher. So let's see who comes out on top. This player here, Marcus's army, has decided to kind of deploy split with the woods, whereas these cannons are all loaded to one side. Already see some interesting kind of terrain choices. We'll see how it plays out. Artillery fights in general are largely dependent on RNG. Just who gets the hits on the pieces. That cannon's got a chevron. One does not. Let's see here. I don't think any of these ones do, so there's no additional bonuses to accuracy, and except for that one, and it's only a minor one at that. Marcus doesn't have any missile buffs. He does have a net. Both players with nets. Hellstorm rocket battery will win. Yeah. It might. The Hellstorm rocket batteries. Oh, is it? It's the Sunmaker. Wow, I didn't even notice. It's the actual Sunmaker. That means basically that he's going to be able to dump all of the ammo before the cannons can respond. That is pretty good. That is actually pretty good. Although, let's see if they blow up their own cannon crew here. Come on, come on. See what you got. Ooh, nope, nice fire up and over. Looks like no friendly fire. He did pop a Kindle Flame proc there as well, and keep in mind that the Sunmaker does fire damage. See that fireball flying across the field, picking off a cannon. Meanwhile, the other cannons opening up. They are shooting at this great cannon here, which is a good target. Yeah, this Sunmaker's going to be a problem, though. Good thing he has those Empire Knights. I would keep those hidden in the woods here until your force gets a little bit closer so they don't get wrecked by the cannons, or you can even pull them all the way up and around and try and advance kind of over here. Right now, the Sunmaker's getting some really nice work done against these handgunners. Oh yeah, absolutely brutal, and it really doesn't take much. And see, this Great Cannon's almost done, though, from the focus fire, and they actually are now shooting at the Sunmaker. I say almost done. They've actually only lost one artillery model, and I said the Sunmaker was able to dump all of its ammo before they could respond. I'm not 100% sure that's true. If they all focused, they could probably take it out, but they are at the very max of their range. I don't know, because this other cannon crew might be technically obstructing them, but let's see. Oh, nope, that's a good shot. That's a good shot. That's a good shot. Oh, man, right on target. Well, not on the artillery pieces themselves, but wrecking the crew. You definitely want to break the artillery pieces. But this Bright Wizard that's been throwing fireballs gets absolutely wrecked, even by the few amount of handgunners that remain. So despite the damage being done to the General's force here, it's still okay. And the Great Cannons do get an artillery model finished there. The crew is still standing firm at the moment, but they just took a few more casualties. The Regiment of Renown status means they're not likely to rout here, and they really don't need too many crew members to crew that, but it looks like this force is going to push forward. They do have some Empire Knights, ooh, but the Empire Knight charges are on point for Ice Power here. He gets a good hit and run right in the front line, is able to disengage before Marcus's Knights follow through. Screens beautifully with the spears. Meanwhile, these Knights get tied up by a net. Very nicely done there. Also catches the spears from being able to support. Probably would have even stayed in the fight there with the Sons of Sigmar. They have good enough stats that they can still get some hits against those Empire Knights. Here, it looks like this Empire Knight's going to get netted right as it was charging. It doesn't get the full impact of the charge. Still got some of it. But this Great Cannon's still online, and the Sunmaker, it looks like, has come back with enough crew members to remount this last piece. So they can still potentially get some work done. We'll see. This Great Cannon, though, doing some great work. Great work, get it? Firing into these cav engagements. And like this Empire Knight, for example, here that has some chevrons, that's really cost-effective. General of the Empire taking it on the chin from Marcus. I mean, he's doing it for a very cheap cost, which is fine. But here, great positioning by Legatus here. He's able to get a nice burning head and also a side charge. That was direct friendly fire by that Great Cannon, but let's see, will these Empire Knights actually hold? It looks like they do rout. That leadership buff from the chevrons, not quite enough to hold them in the fight. Meanwhile, though, Ice Power is able to win on this flank. These Empire Knights taking quite a bit of heat, though, and they're the most expensive unit that he has, really. So he's got to be careful on that, but if he pushes up and through the woods here, he could get up and shut down that Great Cannon pretty easily. I mean, there's nothing really protecting it at the moment. clean up the Sunmaker crew and just kind of roll through the rest of the forces here. I'm not sure where the Ice Power's cannons are targeting. I think there might be just firing into the infantry melee fight. I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like Ice Power over is pursuing a little bit. He does want to chase those Empire Knights off, but I think it's much more important to shut down this artillery. That being said, balance of power is slightly in favor of Ice Power here. Ooh, a nice burning head on the other side by Ice Power here. Going with the double caster. Ooh, nice fireball there. Clips the other Bright Wizard. I love the Bright Wizard just throwing fireballs at each other. That's some classic, like, Skyrim Wizard duel. Oh, beautiful. If only we had lightning and frost magic as well. I mean, I guess we kind of have lightning, but Lord of Heavens is not. I mean, you don't get, like, the Palpatine, you know, finger lightning shooting, which is a bit sad. But anyway, Great Cannons here are all completely healthy, and that is a big, big issue. Absolutely. They're going to just continue shelling here. Legatus is able to get the Sunmaker back, though, and they have one model. Oh, and they use the last of their ammunition, so that was probably worth it. But this cannon now doing some really nice work against these knights. It's actually gained another chevron through the course of the battle, so that cannon's been doing great. The other one on the other side, too, because it's positioning here, I mean, it's kind of left out of the fight in many aspects, but also can pull back into range, start to trade. The cavalry engagements here, the cannons have done a great job kind of thinning out Ice Power's superior Empire Knights. I guess Knights of the Inner Circle, we'll call them. He does still have one more unit here, though, with 66 kills, 3 XP chevrons. That's a big danger, and Legatus was able to claw back on the balance of power a little bit there. Will it be enough, though? We'll see. The issue is for Legatus is that all of his cavalry being chased off here means that he has no way of getting at this artillery other than to shoot it to death, which he can do. He's going to probably lose that fight if he tries, though. I mean, this Great Cannon's already down one unit model, and this one is still very healthy, but only has about half of its ammunition left, and you're facing a full battery here. Just about. One of these has taken one model in damage, but looks like the cannon's focusing on just the nearest threats, which is definitely a good idea, rather than trying to focus on the enemy cannons. This last Empire Knight gets deployed, though, and they are going to be a target. Unfortunately, it looks like this Great Cannon actually dismounted. I don't know if Legatus realized, or maybe he just dismounted to try and not take the cannon fire on them. I'm not sure. There are still two guns online there, and how about these Empire Knights? That the chevrons definitely gives them much better leadership to where they're going to hold up much better. But very nicely done here. This Empire Knight finally going out, shut down this other Great Cannon, and that should be the game basically there. Yeah, you can see the balance of power burning pretty heavily. So what we learned is that the Sunmaker actually didn't do enough, and it probably would have been better to take another cannon instead. Maybe even the Hammer of Witches for the Regiment of Renown status, due to the faster refire rate and accuracy, can be, you know, very good in this situation. But even just one more Great Cannon. Also, I think the cheaping out on the Lords here, like changing Marcus for the General and bringing 2 casters. I guess Legatus also had double caster here. Excuse me. Empire Mirror Rule. Units over 800. Yeah, basically, Empire Knights are 850, but they're basically the most expensive thing you want to bring. But the chevrons definitely made a difference here. Cheaping out allowed him to kind of spend more resources in that department. And, I mean, the infantry fight was basically a wash. I think just all handgunners, though, like the Deathjacks are not very good in my opinion. I like the pick of the Silver Bullets because they have stock, and the magic damage, I mean, if they were to bring, like, Shield of Thorns on Lore of Life, then you have that. It's not super important necessarily, but both of them did double caster, though, and I think, actually, Because, like, the idea with Marcus is that he can do good range damage, and he also has a net. But just having the cheap general to stand here and command his troops with the net on the ice, or on the ice power, on the light wizard, and then having also the fireballs and the burning head here on... I think that's actually pretty good. Both of them kind of had the same idea. It's just that Marcus went with Lore of Death to try and also counter-snipe while still having the nets there, right? And I think, honestly, like I said, just having the lower cost on the general, being able to go a little bit more elite on your kind of wide units, I think that was a good play for sure. It's going to be basically an artillery duel for the rest of this, though. I think these great cannons are almost out of ammo, but they're now going to start focusing on enemy great cannons, and once they start to destroy unit models, that will be all she wrote, basically. And none of these cannons actually gained a chevron. No, wait, that one did. Almost a second, too. It's pretty impressive. 79 kills. Good stuff. Yeah, grenade launchers are very vulnerable to cannons because they have a low model count. Oh, yeah. Excellent shots. I think finishing off this crew should trigger army losses. We'll see. This other one might hold. They might have to finish that off as well, but... Oh, right. Artillery duels. Oof, direct hit. Oh, man. The General and the or Marcus, rather, and the Bright Wizard still holding also, but... I think... Yeah. Yeah, definitely no way for Legatus to come back. He's giving it all he's got, though. Definitely still trying to win. And as I say that, the cannons are actually still doing a decent amount of damage. These two still have so much ammo left, though. Just don't see it. Also, the General's going to actually beat up Marcus in melee, which... I don't know if the General beats up too many people. I mean, what, 55, 45, 40 charge bonus? I think Marcus actually might be 58, 45. He has slightly better stats, much less weapon strength, though, and the armor obviously will make a big difference. Oof, and a nice fireball actually clips both of them, and that triggers army losses. That's all she wrote. And that is a wrap. This Bright Wizard, 104 kills, great job there. 81 on Marcus also, but only 58 for the Sunmaker. Definitely did not pay for itself. And Ice Power had superior cav play there, definitely. I mean, he had more cavalry and better quality cavalry, so it was going to be easy for him to have a better cav play, right? But the cannons almost evened that out, but just not quite enough. And I've been talking about the General the whole time, so you guys know that. GG indeed. Let's get to the next one. What do we got? Central Chaos Waste? What we did? Yes, okay. Now it's coffee time. Absolutely. Let me go ahead and update the scoreboard. Ice Power picks up a win there. Legatus has got to win this next one if he wants to avoid elimination and force Game 3. Good. Yes. All right. Music going here. Let me also grab a drink of water. 1 second. Thank you, Mole Spaghetti. My pleasure. I've been really enjoying making content for you guys. Really keep me going. Alright, Ice Power's gonna pick Dark Elves, ban green skins. Let's see. Alright. Looking at some other things here. Got a lot of comments recently on my videos. They're pretty decent. People suggesting units I can do for my series, which honestly has been going really well, I have to say. Thank you guys for loving it so much. I'm glad you do. And it was just a spur-of-the-moment idea, as many of my ideas are. Got 139 people watching. Wow, thank you guys so much. Beastmen. Okay, so he bans greenskins and beastmen as Dark Elves. That's interesting. Legatus could choose Vampire Coast here. I don't think he's going to, though. That would probably be the best, like, hard counter pick. Bretonia is also pretty good there. Yep, and he goes Bretonia. Nice! So I know some of you guys are wanting to see some Bretonia. Here we go. Just for you, Anti-Mage. Had some Empire last game. And now we get some Bretonia. Against the Foul Witches, too, which is so thematic. Love it. Just adjust my microphone here. Apologies if that's loud for you guys. Excuse me. Okay. Alright. Peasant time. Oh, got some odds in here. From R4BE. Given 2-1 or 2-0 odds on Ice Power. I don't know. I don't know if that's what you're trying to say. That's an interesting one. From Bretonia's side, there's a few things I generally would say that this matchup favors Bretonia. But there are some very specific Dark Elf builds that are big problems for Bretonia. Not going to give them away right here, in case someone's watching. But, I mean, Bretonia, it's pretty clear what you want to do, right? Something involving cavalry of some kind. Oh yeah, Ice Power's here in the chat, though. Alright. Salmon 10. Let me pull up Streamlabs, because I keep forgetting to lengthen that dang thing. Okay, let's see here. There we go. Already paid the peasant tax, but seeing as it's been a while, getting some Bretonia. Thank you, man. Thank you. 35 euros, so generous. So generous. Yeah, I'm glad you could make it, man. It's been a fun one. And we still got the finals to go, too, and these guys are waiting on me to ready up, so let's do that. Get in there. Get the love going. Wanted to respond to that real quick. Okay. Central Chaos Waste once again. Round 2. Potentially ace match here. Legatus fighting for survival in the Chaos Waste. And we've got Bretonia versus Dark Elves, obviously. You guys know that. Those of you just joining, I guess. Scourge Runner Chariots only. You know what, actually, I think Scourge Runner Chariots are kind of a trap unit here. I actually think that Cold One Chariots are much better. Think about the Charybdis. Yeah, I could probably do a video on the Charybdis. I feel like I maybe got a game with it recently. I just don't remember. Yeah, I did. It was in the Cold One Chariot video, though. I didn't really talk or focus on the Charybdis itself, rather, but yeah. It's okay in certain matchups. I actually kind of like it against Bretonia. It's got the leadership debuff's good against any infantry. It is kind of slow and not the best armor, but I think it has pretty good missile resistance. I don't think there's one here, though. Let's have a look at this Dark Elf build. Ooh, I don't know. I'll say this at the outset. I don't like to prejudge, obviously. You still got to play the game, but I'm not the biggest fan of this Bretonia, or the Dark Elf build. This is kind of a more traditional, I guess, Dark Elf build in many ways, but Dark Shards are going to get run over here. All of this light infantry, too, is going to get pummeled by knights just generally. I mean, the spears obviously have that anti-large and bracing bonus from the front, but I mean, they're still just low armor, kind of low-tier units. If they get hit in the side or rear, they're going to get absolutely pounded, and they also don't have the mass to stop cavalry, right? We do have a high Beastmaster on a Manticore. Where's the caster at? Okay, Lore of Fire, Sorceress up here. For Bretonia, I see the 2 Yeomen already. We got companions here, Grail Knights, looks like a Paladin, and Fey Enchantress, yep. Double Paladin is usually better, but 1 is good. We also got some Pegasus Knights here, interesting, so he actually didn't take the volume of cavalry I thought he was going to. He does have 2 Grail Knights, which is basically enough to kill this entire army if they don't get completely wrecked. Granted, the High Beastmaster actually having Stormentor Sword, which he does have, will be pretty good here, and the Lash. Does he have the Lash? Let's see. He's got Featherfoe Torque, which is going to be really good, actually, against the Pegasus Knights, and Beastslaver. Oh, so he doesn't have Lash, which, you know, there's not a lot of units in this build that would be great with it, except for the Cold One Knights. They would be pretty decent with it. Yeah. Yeah, Hydra does everything better. There are, in many cases, yes. Having the anti-large bonus, though, and I think the Charybdis also does poison, which is kind of nice. Yeah. Let's see, they're off. Both just advancing right away. There's no artillery to pressure on either side, so we get a nice arty free battle here. The peasants obviously outrange the crossbows, which is a big issue in this matchup. One of the reasons why, you know, it's generally perceived as in the favor of Bretonia. We didn't see any Soul Stealers here, though, or Web of Shadows, both of which are very strong in this matchup, just because they wreck cavalry. Charybdis, like I mentioned, Cold One Chariots, I also really like in this matchup, because with infantry support, they actually trade really well with Bretonnian cavalry, and you can kind of like pull back and forth out of the infantry fights and use your own infantry to screen the knights, and because you have more mass, just continue to, you know, run with impunity. But peasant bows right now just wrecking those dread spears right off the bat. You can see the cavalry immediately sweeps up and around. These mounted yeomen coming in, they're probably going to try and engage the Dark Riders just to tie them down at the very least and allow the knights to get the work done. But this is a nice charge right here. These Grail Knights are going to absolutely flatten these Corsairs, so yeah, dirty pirates probably deserved it. Man, that did like a third of their HP and damage. Absolutely beautiful. This charge here also on these, oh man, the Dread Spears also were technically unbraced, so they are going to take some damage as well. But very nice countercharge in there with the Cold One Knights. The Companions kind of screen, so good combo there. Meanwhile, the Pegasus Knights actually catch the High Beastmaster. He's going to pop the Beast Slaver. I don't know the situation with the Tormentor Sword, if he already used it or if it's on cooldown, but you need that Tormentor Sword. And I guess I was saying that Featherfoot Torque would be good against the Pegasus Knights. It's definitely not enough. High Beastmaster definitely feeling the pain at the moment. Just gonna decide to stand and fight there, but that could be pretty decisive, getting a Lord Snipe for Bretonnia. Like I said, I didn't absolutely love this Dark Elf build anyway, but the Grail Knights, Companions, Mounted Yeomen doing a great job. Like I said, just tying down these Dark Riders is enough. They'll probably lose, but that's okay. I mean, they're basically mounted peasants, right? Unfortunately, the Companions are enraged here, which means they're not going to be able to pull away, but that's fine. They fight quite well in sustained combat. They have really good stats, and they got a nice melee attack buff from the Favor of the Fae, up to 90 melee attacks. They're just going to be decimating those Cold One Knights, absolutely wrecking them. Nice charge from the Pegasus Knights as well. Looks like the Beastmaster was able to disengage, turn up and around, and get to this infantry fight. Interesting. The Grail Knights over here are taking quite a bit of damage from these spears, or something else. I'm not 100% sure, but the balance power is still very even. Looks like we got a big Shield of Thorns here. Yep, 60% base weapon damage, so those Grail Knights are up to 52 weapon strength, which combined with their charge bonus means they're hitting at, what is that? Oh, I can do math. Yeah, it's just a lot. It's a lot. 82 or 52 plus whatever. 78. Good stuff. What is that? 130? I guess. Sure, we'll go with that. I can math, I promise, while I'm casting. Anyway, unfortunately, the Dark Shards are able to kind of resecure here and open up and absolutely just rip apart those Pegasus Knights in a big hurry. So although they've done a lot of work, they didn't quite finish off the Beastmaster, and he now has the Fanchantress enraged, and he's getting hit by the Paladin. Is that going to be enough, though? Will the Fanchantress actually go down here? Like Alariel before her, she gets terrified, and it looks like the enrage wears off just in time. Crossbows are pouring in fire, still trying to get her down. She's having a hard time pulling out of this engagement, though. I'm very surprised by that. But the Beastmaster is able to recover his leadership. Looks like he's going to get back in the fight, most likely. There is still this unit of Grail Knights, but man, losing the Fanchantress, and I will absolutely eat my words. I was saying from the get-go that Ice Power wasn't going to have a good time, but he's able to get some really nice timely breaks, and I'm surprised how well he's done keeping these Dark Shards online too. That one unit of Witch Elves also been super critical, and yeah, I guess the Grail Knights ended up just taking too much damage in various engagements, and this is what I was saying about the volume of cavalry here. I feel like in this matchup you just want enough cavalry to mash everything. So you can occupy more of those units, and like if you even had I mean, I like to pick up the Mounted Yeomen. I would have liked to see maybe one or two Knights Errant as well, just because once again, you can't really know how many units your opponent's going to have to try and tie down, but just because Ice Power was doing a good job keeping these crossbows ready, or yeah, protected, and just in general, the Beastmaster also surviving the Pegasus Knight Goon was massive. That was absolutely huge that he was able to disengage there. So a really good showing by Legatus, just barely coming up short there. And yeah, 135-68 for those Grail Knights, did a great job. Pegasus Knights also 2 chevrons, but just not quite able to finish the job on the High Beastmaster there. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure how I would change this build. Have to think about it a little bit. I like these 3 cavalry here. I just think you need more cavalry in general. I don't know. Although the Pegasus Knights did really well, I might change them out for another paladin, and then maybe just cut some of these peasants here. Maybe cut like 2 more of these for the mobs. That would give you a little more points. I don't know. Just try and change things around to either upgrade these mounted yeomen to Knights Errant, so they'll actually win against the Dark Riders. Wow, Dark Riders actually 97 and 88 kills, so although they were tied down for a moment there, because the mounted yeomen lost so decisively, these Dark Riders were able to come there in the backline, and I guess I was mostly missing it, but must have just completely rolled up those peasant bowmen, which then, you know, shut down one of the counters to the Dark Shards. Ice Power was able to deal with the elite cavalry enough that they stayed safe until the late game there, got some pretty key engagements. Also 84 kills for the Sorceress of Fire. Some of the Corsairs also did pretty well, it looks like. Mounted Yeomen need an underrated video? I don't know, do they though? Yeah, GG, that was a good one. Yeah, Corsairs are definitely MVPs. Yeah, Legatus. I was in the same boat. Absolutely, thought it would be an easy win, but he did escape. Yeah, that was rough. Just like Wolves for Bretonia, yes, but they actually have less unit models, so I think they're worse than Wolves in many ways. Oof. Wow. Wow, Darko Man. That's rough. Alright, alright. Alright, alright. Alright, and let's get Fistek back in here. Oh, wait. Let me actually rehost the lobby just in case, because the lobbies tend to bug out sometimes. So let's do this. Get the bracket up, rehost. And here we go. Ice Power moves on, now faces Fistek in the final. It's a best of 5 final. Strap yourselves in, we've got a few games to go. Yeah, they were never meta, really. In a few matchups like Lizardmen, they were. I think Shades have pretty much always been better, though. Maybe not. People didn't really used to use Shades very much. Yep. Always outperformed by Shades, yeah, and you would think the shielded ones having a silver shield would be good, but the low range is just such a problem. Man, it's an issue for sure. Absolute issue. Yeah, goblins or wolf riders. Or harpies. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you would never use harpies in campaign. Wolf riders, I use actually wolf rider archers in the early game in my campaigns. I mean, you obviously want to get spider riders as soon as you can, but I like the wolf riders. The archers especially. Really, really good unit. I need to get an underrated on them. Let's see. For the final here, let's go to... let's see. Let's go Blue Reach River to start. Just waiting on a competitor here. I'm going to take one more quick break, and I will be right back, guys. Stick with me for the final in just a moment. Okay, and here we are. Let me go ahead and update the scores here. And let's do this. Oh wait, that was the wrong one. Here we go. Ice Power's still in. Oh geez, what is happening in the background? Alright, alright. This here. Nope, not him. Nope, not him. Get it right one of these times. There we go. It's that one. Are stacked on top of each other, so that's fine. No, it's not that one. Oh man. Okay, I'm having some issues. There we go. It was right there all along. On myself here. Okay. Score reset. And we're all set. It's actually, so this is a best of 5. And so we'll be having at least 3 games. It would be a 3-0 sweep. But I don't know. We'll see. Ice Power, definitely a pretty good player. And it's kind of anything goes, honestly. I don't really know how to predict this matchup. I've seen Ice Power play a little bit more. I haven't really seen Fistek play a lot besides today. So honestly, I'm thinking it could go either way. Like, I don't really know how to predict this one, to be honest. Looks like Ice Power's going to go with Chaos, which is an interesting pick against Coast. Some people think this matchup is potentially pretty bad. Gun bats are kind of a problem here, but you have some tools. And I definitely think that Chaos can do some things in this matchup, definitely. Yeah, and on the discussion of skirmish cav, one thing I was going to add as well, you almost have to take it on a case-by-case basis. Like, yes, as a general rule, like the skirmish cavalry will do of a variant of like an equivalent infantry skirmisher will do a lot less DPS as a general rule. Now that there are some unique cases where that's not necessarily true, like pistoliers, for example, they have basically the same volume of fire, and because it's 2 aimed shots, it's literally the same DPS as Free Company. I think they just have less ammo overall, so that's kind of a special case, right? Dark Shards also, just because, like, repeater crossbows do more DPS, yes, but they're really hard to protect because they're short range. Although we saw Ice Power do a great job of that in the last round. Yeah, it's just an interesting situation, kind of. You have to take it definitely on a case-by-case basis. Or like, yeah, if you look at like Goblin Archers, like Wolf Riders, Spider Riders do way less damage than Goblins and Night Goblins, respectively, right? These guys are ready for me. Let's get in. Like for Norska and Chaos, obviously you don't have any infantry, but if you compare them, Norska does have some infantry. You can compare directly the throwing axes and the javelins. I don't really, yeah. I think the throwing axes and the javelins, obviously, the infantry ones do way more damage, and I think the throwing axes do too. I'd have to double check. Pretty sure that's right. Yeah, Yeoman Archers do 4 AP per missile. The thing that's different, Ant-Man, is that because they have way less volume, right? They have less unit models. And that's typically why you'll find that the missile damage stats are usually pretty similar to their infantry counterparts. It's just because of the lower model count, it equals less DPS, right? Okay, let's fade that out there. This down, that. Okay. Yeah, I saw Romulan Dog. Hadders, unfortunately, was signed up, but he had some internet issues right during the check-in and the start. That was a bit rough. But yeah, we got a lot of good players in, and it was a pretty good tournament. I'm looking forward to some of the replays from this. Alright, just checking some things there. Yeah, Norska does have pretty short range on their missiles, but their infantry, their missile infantry also isn't absolutely terrible in combat, and it does enough DPS up close that you still see them. Like the anti-large bonus of the javelins, so strong, and in certain matchups, the AP of the throwing axes is actually really good, in my opinion. But Coast is a big weakness. Yeah, it's tough to learn how to play against Coast. It's kind of a weird matchup for most factions, but you can definitely play into them. Let's have a look, speaking of which. We'll take a look at the Coast themselves first. We've got quite the tight box here. Wow, look at this death box of necro effects. We've got multiple zombies, single unit of rotting Prometheans, 2 Sirens, Harkon in the air, obviously, and some gun bats. We've got a couple regular pistols, 1 handgun, and same thing over here. Okay, interesting. So it looks like he is going to be playing off of the gun bats as much as he can, very clearly. Taking a look at Warriors of Chaos here, going to be led by Archaon on horseback. Yep. Got some Forsaken and some Chaos Spawn in a layer here. Lots of DPS, but all of these units are pretty squishy as well. He has some counter skirmish with Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes, but I'm not sure about this Chaos build. Not sure about this. Good place to put a Firestorm, right? He has one. Let's see. He does have Burning Head, which will be ridiculous. Kill like 100 zombies with that. Hopefully get the Sirens also. In fact, you need to get the Sirens with that. Granted, Archaon does do magic damage in melee. Let's see. Did Archon bring his magic resistance? Because that could make a huge difference. It looks like he did not. He's got Death Shriek and Hornswaggle, but he did not bring his magic resistance. I see this all the time. I see people not bring the magic resistance on Harkon. I mean, he's already so expensive. I think it's worth the extra investment, and especially in certain matchups where you can maybe not expect units with fire or magic damage rather, but they have like multiple different units that you could see. Archaon is one in this matchup, or like obviously against Norska, like you've got Famir, right? Against Bretonnia, obviously, any of the Grail type units. So there's a few situations where you would want... throws a fireball over there. We'll pick off a couple models of those gun bats. Likewise, the throwing axes get a great volley. Oh man, some good DPS. 2 models picked off there. Of course, they can regenerate unit models with the healing. But interestingly enough, there's no gunnery wights. Like typically with this, I guess they can't take double gunnery wight. For me personally, like if I'm going, this is cheesy and I don't do it very often, but if I'm going all in on the flying missile units here, I am gonna bring 2 gunnery wights as much as I can to refill the flying units' ammo. Now obviously Harkon makes this flying squad a lot stronger, so there's an argument to be made that you can only really take 1. Harkon is really necessary to make this work, and you also need the fleet captain. But let's see. Right now, it looks like Fistek's gonna kind of pull up at the edge and try and work his way around and just avoid this melee engagement as long as possible. He needs to be careful not to leave this Necrofex out to dry, though. The Forsaken are fast enough, I believe. 46 speed, 45. I think they might be able to catch him. We'll see. They're going to kind of get weirdly pathed around this little pond here. The Blue Reach River. Nope, just kidding. That river's actually over there, I think. Yep, anyway. Let's see. Maybe a little bit of lag. Nope, we're good. And these units just making their way around this little pond here. Pretty hilarious. Obviously, eventually the zombies are going to get caught, but looks like the Vanguarded Hounds came back. They're now here, just kind of chilling in the woods. They're soaking a lot of the ammo, which is actually really good. Those deck droppers should not be expending ammunition on the Hounds there. They're definitely want to shoot. The Chaos Spawn are going to be the best target for them. Yeah, look at this. The zombies are going to start getting caught up here. Not sure where Archaon's at. Looks like he's kind of hanging back here. He's got to be careful that Archon doesn't nerf him and then jump on him. But it looks like He's going to be able to get in support of the Chaos Spawn there, and Ice Power doing a good job kind of unblobbing his units, pulling up and around the side here. Those zombies are getting absolutely crumped, though. The Tide of Skilled even. Here, Archaon drops. Let's see, Ice Power reacts. He doesn't react quickly with the Chaos Spawn. It looks like Archaon's able to just path past, though. Absolute Chad just does not care, and a beautiful Burning Head. Absolute roast. I guess that's why he was pushing through. He's now got Slayer of Kings active, Standard Die, and Cascading Fire Cloak to counter the Hornswaggle, and it's not going to be a great engagement for Harkon. Yeah, definitely great by him. Good play to pull away, get back up in the air. A little bit of a wasted timing push with the debuff, but it's fine. Meanwhile, this infantry fight is going to be going pretty decisively in favor of the Warriors of Chaos, as you would imagine. That Burning Head actually didn't do as much damage to the Sirens as I would have thought. Still 114 kills already on Archaon. Losing the Skirmish Cav this early is a little bit of an issue. Yeah, because the Gunbat builds are pretty prevalent here, I like to take 4 Marauder Horsemen, and maybe even 2 Horsemasters as well, just to max out on your ranged units. But a nice rear charge here. Another taunt on Archaon, or a taunt rather than a Hornswaggle, kind of layering one after the other. But the Gunbats are focusing on Archaon, which is a problem for him, definitely. He wants to just continue to try and dodge the shots as much as he can because they are extremely inaccurate. A beautifully placed Burning Head, though, is going to basically wreck that unit of Sirens. Archaon also fighting in melee against the Sirens is going to be really strong. Obviously, like we said, he does magic damage, right? So that Burning Head was absolutely devastating. Now, these units can keep sustaining here, but nice block with the Chaos Spawn. Archaon able to mostly block Harkon, Luther here, and Luther now gets mostly surrounded by these spawn, or I'm not sure if they actually have an attack order on him. The spawn, oh man, Archaon ends up taking a few hits here, which is really not great. The spawn, yeah, they need to surround. It looks like he was pushing past to try and get that surround, but the spawn are thick enough. I don't know if Luther can actually pull out of this engagement. Granted, he has double healing effects, so it's going to be really, really hard to take him down, but Archaon's definitely punching him really hard, and the spawn as well. Look at this. I love the pick of the Chaos Spawn here. I think Chaos Spawn are actually a really underrated unit. Might even save this battle, honestly. But yeah, Harkon goes down there. That is an absolutely massive loss. And suddenly, I mean, the Gunbats, if they expend all their ammunition, might be able to finish off Archaon. But without Harkon, it's going to be difficult for sure. Even still, the balance power slightly in Coast's favor. A lot of that is because of the summons here. But now Archaon's going after the Necrofex, which is obviously a great situation for him. Might even go after the Fleet Captain instead, me personally, just because if you finish off the Fleet Captain, that's no more healing. But getting rid of the Terror, you know, there's an argument to be made for that as well. I think everything's basically immune to Psychology or Unbreakable, though, so maybe it actually doesn't matter that much. Balance of power pulled back to even, though. These Hounds, Poison Hounds, still basically totally fresh, going to get a really nice rear charge here on those Sirens, and they will actually do a little bit of damage there. Archaon's in a rough situation, though. Suddenly he gets surrounded by the Necrofex and by the caster here, the Vampire Fleet Captain. He's going to turn and fight, looks like. If he has any melee defense debuffs, now definitely would be the time. I don't know if Archaon goes down here. The Warriors of Chaos army could have some leadership issues. Like I said, I mean, most of them are immune to Psychology, and the spawn obviously will just fight to the bitter end. Let's see. These Hounds now kind of getting screened out by the bats a little bit, but they still manage to come in here and proc a rear charge. Nice Cascading Fire Cloak from Archaon, and he actually gets loose as the Necrofex tries to pull away here. It gets blocked by a tree, and now Archaon, oh man, he does take a hit though, and the possible rear charge from the Fleet Captain. Let's see, the spawn just start chatting through, absolutely charging. They're able to screen, but is it enough? Archaon now, with the Gunbat shooting at him, is going to be taking some pretty consistent DPS here right now. He's at, what, 469? Pretty nice. He gets debuffed by the taunt. Again, that is going to be pretty important for the pistol deck droppers if they want to try and finish Archaon, and it does look like he gets routed there. Balance of power still very close to even, but the Forsaken especially are not going to like that. The Chaos Spawn will continue fighting until, and I don't know, I think with Archaon going down there, that's a pretty decisive loss. Gunbats have a tiny bit of ammo left. Is it enough to finish off these Chaos Spawn? Because the Spawn will win this melee engagement, I'm pretty sure. I guess the Necrofex still has some ammo, which is important. There aren't too many spawn left either, so if he can finish off the spawn, but it looks like that friendly fire did a lot of damage to the Rotting Prometheans. They're crumbling. They're probably going down. The spawn pushing through now. Yeah, we'll see. Forsaken routing now. The Demon Spew, let's see if they can keep their models online. It looks like, man, it's a tough decision. Like, you go after the Necrofex, I would probably just swarm this fleet captain, but I think that's probably all she wrote for the Warriors of Chaos. Don't see them coming back from this. I don't know. Spawn are still fighting. Those Rotting Prometheans, though, it kind of shows my issue with Crumbling. The fact that these Rotting Prometheans are basically unbreakable, right? Without actually paying for it. Like, they don't pay any extra cost, despite the fact they are unbreakable. Ooh, are these Hounds going to get immediately terrified? Or, no, they actually get an okay charge here. How's the DPS? It forces the Necrofex into Crumbling. But, again, they get terrified. If a unit's routing, you can't get terrified by them, I don't think. And anyway, they're gonna move away from you, which will get rid of the terror effect. But undead units, obviously, if they're crumbling, they can still terror out you. It's such a balance. Do you feel the balance? I feel the balance. Looks like Hornswaggle, or Taunt, rather, on the last Forsaken here that's relatively healthy. The Hounds are coming around for a timing push, but the Warriors of Chaos are actually kind of grinding this back a little bit here. If this Necrofex goes down to this charge, I don't know. It still has a little bit too much HP, I think, but that was a decent charge by these Warhounds. Oh man, one last heal on the Necrofex. That is backbreaking. That is going to pop the balance of power and trigger army losses. Man, that was close, though. That was really, really close. Yep, routing units can terrify you. Yes, but because the routing radius is pretty small, the fact that it runs away means that it's most likely not going to. And it's also not still attacking you, doing leadership damage from the combat modifiers, right? So, yeah, it's just the balance. The balance of the fact that the crumbling unit is still standing and fighting and not really taking damage or running away, moving away from the formation. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. One, due to the overpowered nature of crumbling. That's a good way of putting it. Okay, next map. Let's go ahead and get that lined up. We're going to go for... Let's do Mouth of the Pass. You say old meme. I mean, it's still a problem. Crumbling's still broken. They never fixed it. So it's actually still a current meme because it's still currently broken. Oh, yeah, it's bad. Yeah, most players hate Coast for that exact reason. And like I said, for me personally, I think going a little bit heavier on the cavalry, I think could have been decent. It's tough with the Necrofex on there, but if you have enough cavalry and high enough volume, like 6 units of skirmish cav is the limit, right? You can take for 360 shooting. So, oh, I might have to rehost. It looks like lobby might be bugged. Yeah, I like Big Bird, actually, a little bit better than Archaon because of his missile resistance and the fact that he's also unbreakable. Like, he would have synergized with your army pretty well there. I mean, the Lore of Fire ended up being great, right? Definitely don't get me wrong on that, but like Plague of Rust, for example, for when you got the surround on Harkon, like you pop Plague of Rust on him and suddenly the Chaos Spawn are just going to rip him up even faster. I mean, they did already, but Flag of Rust also would have been really nice, like against the crabs, and just in general, like you had a lot of high DPS units that have quote-unquote non-AP damage, right? So I think actually Big Bird might have been better for your build. But for me, like, I'd probably run Big Bird, like 4 Horsemen, 2 Horse Masters. I might also run a Firecaster just with Fireball only. Then... yeah, I like the pick of the spawn in the Forsaken, actually. Oh, yeah. People have been complaining about it forever. That's true. That is true. And Creative Assembly has yet to fix it. Big Bird would have been an easy snipe for the deck droppers. I mean, you say that. The missile resistance helps, and I think he can dodge better. I mean, he's bigger, but because of his animations, like, it's hard for him to get bogged down. And if especially if you're constantly proccing the charge animations, I don't know, is he actually harder to snipe? Big and unarmored. It's true. It's true. Yeah, speed is for sure very important on the Forsaken. The immune to psychology is also really nice, and the high weapon damage. It's a good niche matchup for them. Personally, I like shielded units a little bit better in that matchup, but they are much slower, so it's harder to catch Coast. You have a point there. He has what? Does he only have 40%? I thought it was 50% still. I'll have to double check that, but... okay. Ice Power, are you not able to join the lobby? Do I need to rehost? It is your pick and ban. Most missile damage of Coast is AP anyway. I mean, yes and no. Depends on what they take. Like, you can opt to not take the armor piercing, which against Chaos, I think you definitely want the armor piercing, but yeah. Yeah, it would be nice if you could run something for Big Bird to give him, like, physical resistance as well, but really, I don't think you even have spells that give physical resistance. Well, I'm thinking through the lores you have, and I guess you could take the Swords of Chaos, but I think they're very bad in that matchup, probably. Oh, the map is locked in. We're doing Mouth of the Pass. Yep, we're there. Yeah, it's 50%. I mean, it's something. It's something, definitely. Only for Tomb Kings. Well, and you have Shield of Thorns as well for everyone with Lore of Life. And Lore of Beasts also has one that gives physical resistance. What is it, Wiston's Wild Form? Nah, I think it's the other one. Pan's Pelt. Yeah, I think it's Pan's Pelt. That's right. It says 60% on the wiki. Really? It's still 60? I thought they nerfed it. It used to be 60, I know. I thought they changed it to 50. Let me double check here somewhere else. It's going to bother me if I don't look. Ooh, Ice Power goes Dark Elves. Fistek's going to counterpick with the Wood Elves. Wood Elves are pretty decent in this matchup in most people's opinion. I think it's a pretty good counterpick, but Dark Elves also have some pretty good tools here. Let's see here. Sartharel, let's get him on there. He has... yeah, 50% missile resistance in the current build. Looks like the wiki's out of date. Yep, yep. Exactly. I'll go ahead and ready myself up so these guys can go when they're ready. Go ahead and do this here. Excellent. And let me upgrade this, update the scoreboard as well. Fistek picking up a win there. It is a best of 5, remember, so we've got 2 more games potentially still. Let's see if Ice Power can force a game 4 at the very least. Okay. This is Mouth of the Pass. It does have a piece of impassable terrain right here, but it's not too big of an issue. You still got plenty of open space to work with. And it's pretty well balanced. No real kind of hill advantage to one person or the other. Alright, let's see what they got. Dark Elves, we'll start with them. Ice Power coming in with Malekith. He's got Feral Manticore also. Dread Spears, Corsairs, Dark Riders with shields, and Harpies. Interesting build. Lots of kind of cheaper stuff, lots of mobility, but it makes sense. Tenacious Harvesters are an auto pick in this matchup, definitely. They're a little risky, but let's see what we got here. It's a Glade Guard build. Interesting. I was definitely expecting Way Watchers, but we've got an Ancient Tree Man up front, Eternal Guards, looks like Dryads. Okay. Interesting. More Eternal Guard, 2 Waystalkers. Okay, that makes sense now, why you would bring the Ancient Tree Man. Ancient Tree Man's also pretty underrated. I'm going to do an underrated Lord episode about him at some point. But, yeah, he's Lore of Life caster, expert charge defense, also has Woodsman, obviously, is a treat. Lore of Life, terror, decent physical resistance, and armor. Not the best attack stats, and it doesn't look like he brought the melee attack buff, which I think is a mistake. I definitely think you want that on the Ancient Tree Man. It not only affects him, but everyone in an AoE around him, which would obviously be great for these Eternal Guards. But it's hard to say in terms of builds. It's pretty interesting. We've got the Hagbane tips. Oh, there is 1 Way Watcher here. Okay, 2 Hagbane tips, 1 Way Watcher. That makes sense. That does make sense. Couple Wild Riders. Dark Riders and the Wild Riders, it just depends on the positioning. The Dark Riders can beat the Wild Riders if they get a good engagement, and because there's more of them, they're probably more likely to get a good engagement, but if they get a bad engagement, they will lose really badly. So it's an interesting play. If Fistek can avoid getting trapped and charge from multiple directions, like, the idea is you would want to bait them towards charging 1 Dark Rider, pull away, and then have another one come in the side, and if they change directions, then at least one of them you can hit them from the side. And that will be great, although Malekith with his Soul Stealer is going to be a great way of also just picking away the Wild Riders unit models. Very cost effective. Even if you just single cast, it's, for me, I don't think it's usually worth it to single cast Soul Stealer on any units, but the Wild Riders might be. Maybe the basic ones aren't. These ones with shields are, what, 1,200 points? Actually, neither have shields. Interesting. So the Dark Riders and the Harpies are immediately going to discover the Way Watchers and the Way Stalkers. The Manticore with Malekith moving up, Fistek definitely needs to get those Way Watchers or Stalkers. It's going to get confusing. The Way Stalkers back and into the protection, which he now does. Ooh, nice Awakening in the Wood to slow down those Dark Riders on the charge. That allows him to then pull the spears into support. Great play by Ice Power, though, and this is fine. Just straight up charging head first into Dryads. They're going to take some damage in the side, but 40 charge bonus is enough that they can do some damage on the charge here, and at the very least, keep some of those ranged units bogged down. Yeah, I don't know that I would overcommit too hard there. You definitely need those Dark Riders for a multitude of different things. But he's still got one there in the back. A nice Soul Stealer, beautiful bait. That's going to be great against both the Waywatchers and Wild Riders, both because they're relatively low model count, low HP. That is a beautiful Soul Stealer, probably best case scenario for that. Malekith also gets a good charge there on the Ancient Tree Man. Him and the Manticore teaming up, try and win that engagement. The Harpies obviously didn't win there, but some nice damage regardless on the Waywatchers, and a beautifully placed Gaze of Malice too. Hits them directly, so some great play by Ice Power there so far. Let's see how he does. These Salacious Harvesters, though, get hammered pretty badly here by these Wild Riders, and the Dryads actually dealing magic damage is kind of a weird niche counter here. Because the Salacious Harvesters don't have much melee defense, you know, they took a lot of damage there. Oh man, a little bit late on the Soul Stealer does mean that the Wild Riders might actually end up winning that engagement. Already things are looking slightly bad for the Dark Elves on the balance of power, but things are fine. For the most part, they should be able to win that infantry engagement just fine. The Manticore is having some issues, but nice. Malekith makes contact there on the Waywatchers. That is really good for him, just leaving the Ancient Tree Man in the dust. It's the right idea. You can largely ignore him for the most part. He doesn't do that much damage because of his low attack. And great job by these Glade Riders, Glade Guard rather, firing in support of the Waystalker, who's getting absolutely bullied by the Manticore. Great use of them. These Wild Riders could also come up and around and get a nice charge. Because of their high charge bonus, they will do quite a bit of damage. And these Dark Riders managed to push up and through. They get some damage from the Ancient Tree Men, but they managed to find their way. They're going to come in and hopefully shut down these Glade Guard here. Malekith is taking some damage. His physical resistance and missile resistance combined, both 15%, 30% in total, is pretty decent. Hagbane tips, I think, actually do magic damage, though, so they circumvent at least the physical resistance portion of that equation, but things are not looking great on the Dark Elves in terms of the balance of power. Malekith taking more and more damage here. The fact that these Wild Riders are still so healthy, and this infantry engagement, I mean, it went, I would say, in the Dark Elves' favor largely, but also in a way not. I think, honestly, losing the Salacious Harvesters there was pretty painful. He had been able to get more value from them. That could have made the difference here. But, yeah, Wild Riders getting the Dark Riders, and as I mentioned, if the Wild Riders get a good charge on the Dark Riders, they're going to absolutely tear them to shreds. Nicely placed Gaze of Malice here once again. We'll destroy those Glade Guard, and I mean, the balance of power is so heavily in the Wood Elves' favor, but I don't 100% know why. I mean, there's still plenty of Dark Elf troops left. I guess it's just because Malekith is so low on HP, whereas the Ancient Tree Man is still completely healthy, just about. And I said you can largely ignore the Ancient Tree Man, but that ends up coming back to bite him in terms of the balance of power. And yeah, maybe just getting a little bit over-aggressive with the Harpies there. I don't know. It's an interesting one. Interesting one. Good on Fistek to resist that push. And yeah, like I said, Salacious Harvesters, you just get like one good Soul Stealer from them on the other unit of Dark Riders that ended up cleaning them up. And I think at that point they probably win that fight. I don't know. It's hard to say. There was some infantry support over there as well. Yeah, on Ice Power's side, I probably would have taken Bolt Throwers here, honestly, and just play forward from them. Like, yeah, the Wild Riders can detach and go clean them up potentially, but you could leave us even like 1 or 2 spears there to discourage them. The Waywatchers can come up and try and snipe them, but again, if you're playing forward, like, I don't know, I probably would have cut 2 of the Harpies. And actually, I might cut all 3 Harpies and then take 1 more Dark Rider. Maybe with no shields, cut 1 more shields, and then that would let you take 3 Bolt Throwers, if I'm doing my math right, or 2? 2, yeah. Anyway, it was a GG. Let's update the scoreboard here. It's nice to see, whoops, not 3, it's 2. Not 32. Okay. It's nice to see some limited Waywatcher play, too, and 1 is enough, honestly. You really don't need, maybe in certain matchups you need more, but I really don't think you need more than 1, to be honest, in most situations. Cool, cool. Looks like Legatus also posted some replays there. Excellent. Looks like he was playing Dark Elves the whole time. Interesting. I'll have to take a look at those replays. Okay, let me get the next map queued up. Been neglecting that, just talking about other things. Let's go to... you know what? Let's get it going on Troll Country. Yes, it's a bit of a small map, but it's fun to throw in it occasionally. I love the aesthetics of it. Yeah, I don't know that it would have made that much of a difference. I don't know, I'll have to go back and watch the replay, but it didn't really seem like line camping to me. Oh, but the ridge probably blocked it. Yeah, I didn't see over on that one side. I'd have to look to see how close they were. Okay, waiting on just a second there. No problemo. Get some music queued back up. Okay, just checking out some other things over here. Yeah, Wild Riders for sure beat Dark Riders. Well, if Wild Riders charge Dark Riders, obviously. But I think if Dark Riders charge in the side, I don't know if they win necessarily, but they trade really cost effectively. It's nice. Yeah, I'm actually considering switching my streaming primarily to Twitch. Like, I'll probably do once a month still on YouTube, maybe, a stream. But I think primarily I'm going to switch my streaming to Twitch. I've just been talking about it with some other content creators. There was a really good discussion in the Discord I'm in, and it seems like Twitch is a lot more profitable, I guess it was the right way to put it, especially for streaming, as opposed to YouTube. Yeah, 2 Dark Riders for 1 Wild Rider, exactly, and that's why it's cost-effective for them, because you can literally go 2-on-1, and because the Wood Elves don't have any other kind of light cavalry, like you're always going to outnumber them if you do that. So, yeah, Twitch, I don't know. Yeah. I think my channel is at the size right now. I think if it were bigger, like Turin, for example, and Legend, like I get why they don't move over to Twitch because they have such a massive audience on YouTube already that a lot of them are not going to make the jump. But for me, I can still, and I will still, create videos for YouTube, and that way I can still get the discoverability of YouTube and still, you know, put up the content that you guys enjoy. You won't lose out on any of that. But I think I'm small enough that enough people will make the jump over to Twitch, and there's a few other Total War Warhammer YouTubers streamers on Twitch. The Wild Riders win. Even with a rear charge. Interesting. Interesting. I guess it's the physical resistance. I seem to remember it being better. I don't know. Yeah, mod game needs to be on point on Twitch for sure. For sure. Oh, Norska. Interesting. Norska versus Empire on Troll Country. Let's see if Ice Power tries to go missile heavy here. Personally, for me, I go with an almost entirely melee-focused build in this matchup, centered around Lore of Fire, particularly, obviously. But we'll see. We'll see what Ice Power comes up with here. Wild Riders. Wild Riders. Yeah, the thing about Twitch, though, is if people sub, if people donate, or if they have Amazon Prime, I mean, that's cool. That's, you know, that's all right. But it's more so that I get a much better percentage on Twitch of, like, the, you know, channel memberships, and like donations and stuff. I just get a much better cut from Twitch. So I'm still gonna keep the channel memberships active on YouTube. Like, I'm not stopping that. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I'll still be doing maybe once a month, twice a month streams on YouTube. So for those of you guys who enjoy watching on here, you'll still get some content, but just, I don't know. I'm starting to see more and more of the benefits of Twitch. Yeah, you can do that. Yep, YouTube and Twitch at the same time. Yep, there are ways. I have done it before. It's not too hard. No, they did the pick and ban, right? Fistek actually, like, copied and pasted what the rule was from the description of the tournament, and he pasted it in the chat here. I'll show you in just a second. Yeah, it's a decent matchup. Norska versus Empire is a good one. It's an interesting one. There's play and counterplay on both sides. You can do different things. We had a couple matches with Coast. We did have a couple matches with Coast. Oh, let's see here. Okay. Already one thing very strange, but we'll get to that in a second. Fistek here, coming in with Throg and a Fire Bale Fiend. He's got 4 Berserkers, in fact. Any Brutes? No Brutes the Hound. 1 Marauder. Got some Javelins, couple of Famir. Famir, great weapons. Great pick in this matchup. Ha, get it? Couple of Warhounds. I don't know about this, though. A Frostworm. I really don't know about this, especially considering Carl will smash that thing, like, very, very hard. Having a look at the Empire, they've gone with maximum mobility here. Let's see. It is a legal build in terms of model count. Balance power is going to start out slightly against him, but as long as he can micro well, it's going to be hard on this map. But he's got, what, 4 Pistoliers, 2 Outriders, a Royal Altdorf Griffites, 1 more unit of Demis, Warrior Priest, and a Jade Wizard. 1 unit of Empire Knights. So going all in on the skirmish, and, I mean, Norska does have some mobility. I guess the Frostworm's, the Chilling Aura might come in handy here, actually, if he can get it, you know, to work. But Pistolier's got to be careful. These Marauder Horsemen immediately coming up and around the flank there. The Outriders also, ooh, looks like we're going to have a nice Burning Head. Managed to avoid taking most of the damage. Royal Altdorf Griffites immediately crashing into those Marauder Horsemen, doing a ton of damage to them. Franz, this is a good idea, I think, to go immediately finish off the Frostworm, because to pull off this mass cavalry thing, you need to get rid of that Chilling Aura. Looks like the Frostworm's actually going to detach and try and run away, but the Norskin Warhounds, there's no Ice Wolves, so they don't actually have, what is it, Frostbite. You know, the only thing with Frostbite, I guess Throg's got Frostbite, which is nice. Very, very nice for him. And the Chilling Aura plus Frostbite, in theory, is very strong for the Frostworm, but the Frostworm is just such a weak unit overall. Let's see. He's having a hard time here. A little bit bunched up, but it looks like he's able to immediately chase the Hounds off the side there. That's a really nice pick, but oh man, Royal Altdorf Griffites get hit by a unit of Famir. Let's see, is Carl going to rear charge there? No, it looks like he does not choose to rear charge. That actually might have been pretty good to drop the buffs, but those Royal Altdorf Griffites need some healing, and it looks like he does drop in there, and now that he's gone, the Frostworm's going to try and come pin a lot of these units up against the map. Very dangerous situation. Those Berserkers are getting absolutely rezacked over here. These Demigryph Knights are going to have to be careful. Yep, they nope out on that charge. Franz, oh man, those Royal Altdorf Griffites took a lot of damage there. Franz, though, is wrecking these Famir. Warrior Priest also comes in. Oh man, that's a problem though. Yeah, look at this. Frostworm actually does get a hold of a handful of units over here on the side. If Franz can get back up in the air, oh, it looks like he himself is taking a lot of damage here too from the Famir. So it's a dangerous situation for the Empire. I don't know about this. I think this is maybe a too small of a map to pull something like this off. And the Royal Altdorf Griffites getting routed there is a huge, huge problem. They're very expensive for how low their leadership is. Oh man, and Franz actually getting charged here by the Frostworm. I expected him to actually do a lot better in that engagement, I'm not going to lie. But I guess there really wasn't any infantry support for him and the Royal Altdorf Griffites, so they ended up taking the full brunt of that damage to the face. Yeah, he hemmed himself in, definitely. Yeah, he needed to peel out and go this way, out into the open field. Absolutely. Getting all those units chased off immediately by the Frostworm, really, really bad. And yeah, now Franz is gone too. That is a GG. Is it tournament legal to have that many skirmish cav? The reason, yes, and the reason why is because Outriders, well, I think even technically you could take, if there was another unit that was 360 shooting, like War Wagons, for example, you can take like 4 Pistoliers and 2 War Wagons. You could even take 4 Pistoliers, I think, and 4 Outriders, maybe? I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure because Outriders are forward firing only, they don't shoot 360. The rule is actually about 360 shooting units, right? So a little bit of a rough time there for Ice Power, kind of getting hemmed up on the edge of the map, and the Royal Altdorf Griffites, the immune to psychology is nice, but they ended up taking a lot of damage from the Famir there, and I really expected Franz to do better in that engagement, I'm not going to lie. Like, he ended up doing pretty bad there. Famir with great weapons are just such a strong unit in general. Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's super squishy and it's very expensive is the problem. I say super squishy, it's 70 armor, which is not great. Yeah, it has its risks for sure. For sure. Anyway, that's going to be the end of the day. That ends the best of 5. So, yeah, thanks for coming out, guys. Much appreciated. We'll kind of throw it back on to the final here. Move Fistek into the winner's circle. GG's indeed. Right. War wagons are actually low-key great versus a lot of factions right now. I don't even know if I would say low-key anymore. Are you sure you're not gonna lie? Yeah, I do say that too much. Just a mannerism that I do say it too much. You're right. Yeah, thanks, man. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Death to the undead. Yeah, next time we're for sure, I'm banning undead all the way through, like even in the final. Unless you literally... Okay, here's what I'm gonna say for next time. Next time we do this. If you want to pick undead, you have to give your opponent a win. Like, literally, they get +1 wins automatically. So even if you win that game, you still just only even them up. I think, basically, I'll just ban it. That's much simpler. But, yeah. Yep. Yep. Alright, thanks guys. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I'm not seeing anything else I need to take care of. If any of you guys have any final questions, let them fire now. I'll give you a few more seconds for it to catch up. That's basically it for me. As for other stuff going on, I've got more Troy coming soon. I just have to edit the rest of what I have. I'm probably going to do 2 more videos, like maybe 3, maybe 1 on Paris, and then I still need to do 1 more on Menelaus, the part 2. And then we'll be keeping it going. Yeah, I've got a Beastman rework video in the works that is probably about halfway done, maybe more. What else? Yeah, good stuff. Are there any mods that make crumbling faster? I don't know, and if there are, I don't know. Yeah, I would need to look. What is the truth? Oh, Adra's going deep on 2020. It's true. Yeah, you played great, Ice Power. You played great. That last map, it was going to be tough for you to pull off that type of a build just because that map is really small. Yeah. It's all good though, man. You played great up until then. And by the way, if you have any of your replays, this goes for any of you guys who play today. Of course, if you have any replays that you want to send me, feel free to do so from today's tournament. Definitely would love to cast any games that are great. And yeah, thanks guys. Yeah, free at free, I think Troy is well worth it. Absolutely. Yep. You do have to download the Epic Game Store, which, how much is that actually free? But all good. Alright guys, that's it for me. Thanks for coming out. If you guys are not subscribed, be sure to do so. Hit the like button on the stream if you enjoyed it. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.